The moment many have waited for has finally come to pass. The evil Usurper has been cast down, and now a new Overlord sits upon the throne of the city of Irsmuncast Nyedge, and wears its heavy crown upon his troubled brow. Now he must convene the Privy Council within the Star Chamber. Guides and guardians who will help him in his rule, or hinder him if they will. However, he is no mere ruler. He is Ninja.
I am Ninja. My parents are the heaven and the earth. My home is my body. My power is loyalty. My magic is training. My life and my death is breathing. My body is control. My eyes are the sun and the moon. My ears are sensitivity. My laws are self-protection. My strength is adaptability. My ambition is taking every opportunity with fullness. My friend is my mind. My enemy is carelessness. My protection is right action. My weapons are everything that exists. My strategy is one foot in front of the other. My trust is in Quan. My way is the way of the tiger.
Hello everybody. It's time for some more Way of the Tiger. Now, certain keen viewers, let's be honest, most of them, spotted the corner I'd played myself into. The fact that I'm walking straight into an auto kill, so we might as well just go and get it over with now, right? I'm Raphael Perry, and I'm English, which actually matters for this whole situation, right? I'll explain a little bit, but for now, let's just get this over with. And then pray to the Temple of Time. You have put much faith in face! There we go. You have put much faith in Force Lady Gwyneth, and this is certainly not misplaced, but the people of the city now idolize her. She is seen to be as powerful as you are yourself, and she is more popular as well. When the rumour of attack by the spawn of a rift ignites the city, the streets become thronged with people crying aloud to the Force Lady to deliver them from danger. The priests of Nemesis, quick to exploit the mob's hysteria, call upon her formally to lead the army out to battle. The mood of the mob brooks no hesitation. If you wish to order Gwyneth to march towards the rift in the hope of victory, then you are a nincompoop. Obviously. Huge horde coming out of the abyss, tiny little army of highly trained and effective soldiers, but they'll be overrun. If you refuse to bow to mob hysteria and order her to defend the walls of the city, turn to 99. And there's a point I'm going to bring out about the numbering in this book, which is interesting. This point, often the options at the end of a section end with the same final digit as the section you are being sent from, especially if they are options to choose. If they're not options to choose, and they're do you have this or do you have that, then they can enter different numbers. And it's interesting, but you go through a string of numbers ending with the same digit for plot lines or storylines, and at the end of each plot line when a new one begins, it changes over to a new number. I haven't noticed that in any other books in the series, but it's interesting in this one. So anyway, we're going to section 99, and I think we know how this is all going to go here. Okay. If I'm yawning, it's because it's gone 1:30 in the morning. The mob are outraged and panic when you issue the edict that forbids Gwyneth to march out to battle. Your popularity slumps. The people's confidence in your rule is shaken badly as they wait helplessly for the spawn of a rift to lay siege to their city. Subtract 2 from your popularity rating of 2. If your popularity rating is now 0 or less, which it is, then you are screwed. Game over. And I'm going to scroll back up here past all this stuff, which I'm coming back down to in a moment. Don't worry. So that popularity 2 goes down to nothing. And we now go to the dreaded section 167. Just as the evil army is approaching the city, public support for your rule is at a low ebb, and the priests of Nemesis choose this time to whip up feeling against you. The dark tide of counter-revolution sweeps the city, and no one lifts a finger to help you. The palace is surrounded and broken into, your bodyguards slain, and after a fierce struggle you are taken and broken on the wheel in sight of the temple of Quan the Redeemer. Evil rules in the city once again. Now it turns out this is all down to just one thing, and that was the decision about tax. And the reason for the decision about tax comes down to the way the English language works for a non-foreigner. Right? This is less interpretation and more subtext and culture. Okay. Anyway, I've done a recap of points because this rating differs slightly, as we shall see. The failure to cause taxation caused us to lose 2 points of popularity. We managed to get 1 back. Don't worry about that, right? This started at 2, went down to a 1, went back up to a 2 and 3. You know, anyway, it went up and down a bit. So, the Temple of Time will take this opportunity to manipulate time and allow the Redeemer, well, the Avenger, an opportunity to choose wisely. So we start section 41, the Scroll of the Supplicants, right? And I'm going to go through just a couple of examples here, right? 41 goes to section 31, right? Bearing in mind we start in section 1, right? Section 1 sends us to section 11, ends in a 1. Section 41 ends in a 1. Section 31 ends in a 1. At which point we then get to go to section 51 or section 61 to decide what we're going to do with the Lord High Steward. Again, all ending in 1s. Section 61, we refuse the Lord High Steward. We are gracious and honourable and allow him to go freely. We don't clap him in irons and look really paranoid and undermine our authority. Section 231, we invite Force Lady Gwyneth to join the council. 371, we refuse Golspiel and order him to stand trial. 391, we add the demagogue. And now we're on to some frees. Section 53, we add Greystaff. Section 83, we add Foxglove, which reduced our popularity by 1 down to a 1. 203 is a mandatory. Is Gwyneth on the council or not? She is. If she's not, we would lose popularity again because they wouldn't be keeping law and order in the streets or something. 373, deciding what to do for City Watch. 25, restore the Shield Maidens of Dharma. As for Watch, they say they'll do it for free, but they will be exempt from temple tax. We can never tax them. And that raises our popularity by 1 back up to 2. 358. Golspiel's mercenary comes to offer the ransom, which is a blatant bribe, and we honourably tell him to get knotted, very politely, and send him on his way, without manhandling him roughly or throwing him out. 175. Oh, look, we're all on the 5s now. We have the Monks of Quan as our bodyguards. 205, deciding the fate of the army. 258, the Usurper's army will be disbanded but not banished. The Shield Maidens of Dharma will act as the army. We get +1 popularity, taking us up to a 3. 335. Foxglove reminds us that Mandrake exists, which is useful if we hadn't played Book 2 and didn't know about Mandrake, and if we didn't get reminded about Mandrake in Book 3 either, especially if we hadn't played it. And in all fairness, that fight at the end of Book 3 is so hard, I wouldn't be surprised if some people skipped ahead to Book 4, or just didn't have Book 3 in the first place. 385. Look, someone's giving us death threats. We're not just going to go, randomly punishing the local population like some kind of Sheriff of Nottingham until somebody owns up to stop everyone else being bullied and killed and tortured and stuff. No, we're not that kind of arsehole. So, deciding what to do for tax. Money we require. 2 for the army of Shield Maidens, which is a small army, small but skilled. None for the Watch, but tax exemption. 1 for Yellow Lotus, 1 for the Palace Costs, 1 for Living in State, 1 for Return of Stolen Property, which is a temporary thing we shouldn't need to do next year, so we can reduce taxes, including reducing tax on the Temple of Nemesis. And that totals at 6 points, which we require. We are then sent to Section 7 for advice from the councillors on taxation, and this is where it gets tricky. The advice of Parsifal and Force Lady Gwyneth at Section 19 has a major issue, which is the use of the word may in this sentence. Now, to the innocent eye, that looks like oh, you can do that. But that's not what this is. In British English, the way this is laid out, that is a command, an instruction, not a suggestion, not an option. It's to do with the way people speak in polite society, and anyway. So, I'm going to skip to the actual Majesty. Tradition says that each of the 5 major temples be taxed equally, but for many years we have had to pay crippling taxes while the Temple of Time paid none, and the Priests of Nemesis grew fat on the proceeds. We suggest, Your Majesty... So, we suggest brings about the beginning of the plan, the set of instructions, the things that you will do, right? And the word suggest here is not really a suggestion. It's this is exactly what we want you to do. This is the plan. You will stick to the plan. You will do it exactly unless you choose not to go with our suggestion. And everything that follows is a part of the plan until it's obviously not, right? So we suggest, Your Majesty, that you find the Temple of Nemesis 5 talents and levy a tax of 1 talent from the Temple of Time. When next you need taxes, we may then return to the old system of equal tithing. That ends the plan. In this way, Overlord, you may win the hearts of the people by undoing some of the wrongs done by the Usurper. Now, here is the problem. The use of the word may in this sentence, not that sentence down there, right? Usually the word may would be taken to mean you can, you might, right? It can happen, it might happen, oh, this may happen or it might not, However, this is an order, this is a command, right? And it is the only reason that permissive suggestive, flexible, oh, this might happen, but it's a suggestion. You might want to do that next time. It's like, no. The only reason that language is flexible is because they are giving you advice. This plan is laid out as if it was an order, a beating you over the head with it, a sort of bullying, a sort of heavy-handed forcing, in such a polite, nice way with a smile on your face that the enemy doesn't even notice you're hurting them, right? It's... So to translate this into foreign, we command... we demand. We demand that you find the Temple of Nemesis 5 talents, and one more from the Temple of Time. Then, when you next need to review the tax situation, you shall or will return to the old system of equal tithing, which is part of this plan. This is a two-step plan. Step 1, heavy fine on this temple and a bit on that temple, none on the others. Step 2, go back to the old plan. Now, what is not clear is how often we need taxes, right? If it's once a year, if it's once a month, whatever it is, right? And what is also unclear at this point is if we can revise the plan at this point and change our mind. Guess what? We are the Overlord. We are the authority figure. We blatantly could. But are we allowed to? It's like the king has the power to close down Parliament, but he never does. And he bloody should, sometimes, I'll tell you that. The Queen should have closed down Parliament and so that Brexit would go through without May and Cameron and bloody Boris's deal, which wasn't a deal, it was betrayal, basically. But it just got worse from there. And that... Okay, yeah, let's stop a moment and talk about that. Let's completely segue, right? I know I don't often talk about politics, but here's the thing that many people seem to be overlooking. When we had the referendum about whether we should leave the European Union, the government did everything they could to rig the results. They allowed foreigners to vote. Well, they didn't quite allow foreigners to vote. They allowed expatriates living in foreign countries who have foreign country citizenship to vote, all of whom would have just gone, oh yeah, we love being in the European Union where we live. We'll just vote to stay in it and maintain the status quo. You know, the media was heavily biased. Approximately 1 in 5 media interviews would be Leave voters and the rest would all be Remain voters. Occasionally 2 in 5 would be Leave voters if you were really lucky, but it was all skewed to give the impression that everyone's just going to vote Remain anyway. No one's going to vote Leave, so don't even bother, right? It was demoralizing, it was crushing, it was very unpleasant. When the Leave result won, the government didn't want to do it. The Conservative Party, who had been manoeuvred into this referendum, and who had claimed that, you know, they didn't have to follow the advice anyway, it wasn't legally binding, but they just wanted to know what people thought, decided that, okay, we can't get away with this. And evil David Cameron, the scumbag that he was, decided to bugger off. Don't worry, they're all evil, they're politicians. He decided to bugger off and let somebody else handle it. He was like, okay, I've said, you know, oh yes, I'm going to be Pontius Pilate and wash my hands of the situation. You can take the decision for me. You took the wrong decision. Oh dear, I can't handle this. I'm not going to implement it. It's all gone horribly wrong. Someone else can sort it out. And he ran away, right? And then his successors, for a very long time, didn't want to do it either. They saw it as a horrible problem that they didn't see Brexit as an opportunity. They saw it as a problem. And it was a problem they felt incapable of solving because they wanted to be a puppet government running as a colony underneath the evil European Union bastard cunt fuckers from hell who should be killed for the good of all humanity. But, yes, I'm talking only about governmental people there, not the populace of Europe itself. Love Europe, hate the European Union. Right? Anyway, since then, the Conservatives basically tried to lose every single election they could so that someone else would win and have to deal with it. And they could make it somebody else's problem, and then that somebody else would apparently, because they thought it was an insurmountable problem that would just ruin a party, and guess what? They ruined it by treating it as a problem and not treating it properly, right? So they were thinking, they were in a doomed mindset of, oh, it's all horrible, it's a nasty, horrible thing that's going to ruin everything, and it's going to ruin whoever has to do it, so we don't want to do it. We want to lose the election so that somebody else can get ruined by it and do so badly and be so unpopular for having done it that we'll get back in and rule forever, for ages. And the problem is that the opposition didn't want to do it either, and so the opposition decided to be so pathetic that the Conservatives just stayed in, and their reluctance to handle Brexit properly just got worse and worse and worse. And finally, and yes, I discussed this with someone recently, right? And they brought up the point of, well, what about when Boris Johnson was elected, was made Prime Minister and called for an election within a year? A very, sudden snap election. I was like, well, obviously he was trying to lose. And they insisted, no, he was the one who wanted to be Prime Minister. I was like, yeah, but he was still trying to lose and make it somebody else's thing to deal with, So anyway, now the Conservatives have lost, and we got the Labour Party in with a very heavy majority. And here's the thing. I'll let you into a little secret, right? I wanted Labour to win that election, but I wanted them to win with a very small majority, or be a minority government, be fairly toothless with little power to do anything, right? So they'd be able to implement some policies, do some things, instead of the way they've behaved since they got in. So the only reason they got in with such a large majority is that it was apathy, it was hate votes, it was people not voting for the opposition. I'm not saying Tories could have won if more people voted for them. A hung parliament would have been an interesting outcome. But essentially, if we had a zombie parliament or a zombie prime minister. So a zombie parliament is one that is where the party in power don't technically have the power to get anything done because they went into a coalition to get a majority, and then the allies deserted them because of unpopular things, and their supporters dwindled to the point where they're actually a minority, But essentially, yeah, if they were in with a small majority, they could lose votes because some of their own people could vote against them, the opposition, who might outnumber them, but none of them would individually be a majority, could outvote them. And it's like, if they could get in and govern for a bit without some of their more extreme, crazy policies, maybe they'd have a chance to show people they could be a good government. Or they could lose the election and someone else could have a go next. But instead, what they're doing is being so harsh and nasty and savage and brutal to the population of this country that they are acting like a dictatorship, they've cancelled elections, local elections, that they knew they would lose, and they still lost nearly all the other local elections anyway. It was bonkers. I would not put it past them to cancel the next general election and find an excuse to avoid holding general elections altogether. Right? Because they could say, look at Ukraine. Ukraine is at war. Evil Donald Trump from America, the brain-dead twat that he is, said, oh, Ukraine doesn't have a legitimate president because he hasn't had an election recently. It's like, yeah, he's been at war. His country is at war. You know, after the war, they'll have a bloody election. At which point the Labour Party are probably thinking, oh great, well if we can get in on World War III, we can avoid having any elections till it's over as well and be total communists and run the country into the ground. Make it like Mother Russia, right? So, yeah, let's try and get back onto this now, right? The issue here is that the sentence, when next you need taxes, you may then return to the old system of equal tithing, may sounds permissive. It sounds like an option, but it's not. It's a command. It's direct. It's a polite way of like saying, oh, would you please do this? Or, you know, maybe you could do that. Where when they say maybe you could do that, they mean you absolutely should do this, and you'll be absolutely buggered if you don't. So the problem with this is we don't know if this return to the old taxation system is obligatory, because it does seem to be the whole same plan. In this way, Overlord, they're wrapping it up here, so that is included in the plan. If we can stop it here, then we can accept this, right? So the issue is that we are not allowed to accept any advice that involves taxing the Temple of Dharma. This advice involves taxing the Temple of Dharma in the future. But that return to the old taxation is part of this advice, which technically kind of excludes it. But it's also the only available option that works without getting us killed when the army of the Rift marches upon the city. So we have to pretend we are not English, and that we do not understand that this is a demand about returning to the old system of taxation. And then we go to section 97. Which has, you know what, maybe talking about politics a bit was appropriate, because this is a very sort of political adventure, and there was a massive, well, I had to sit through 2 political arguments on Monday, and I was directly involved in one of them, you know. Again, I don't particularly want to go over what people were saying. I was interested about their need to say things and the way they said it. And it was interesting to see which 2 people were deepest in echo chambers and had a more limited field of view, as it were. One of them caught me a little by surprise there. The other one totally did not. I was fully expecting that person to be like that. Anyway, I've said too much about that already. So, if we follow the advice of Parsifal and Force Lady Gwyneth, the heads of the temples to Quan and Dharma have proposed a crippling fine against the temple to Nemesis, for the usurper took most of the money for himself and squandered it or sent it across the plains to some dark treasure vault in the fires of the abyss. The move is popular with the rest of your people, however, so increase your popularity rating by 1, which brings it up to 4 from the previous 3. At section 285. Interestingly, the Temple of Time pay this 1 talent tax, but if we demand 2 talents from them, following Greystaff's advice, they refuse to pay a penny. So while they've been exempt for a lot of... I wonder if their exemption was some kind of deal with the usurper, keeping him in power. You know, keeping him on the throne in perpetuity. Otherwise, you have raised 6 talents from the treasury. If this is enough to meet the costs facing the crown, you have succeeded in raising enough taxes. We have. So we don't have to... So the previous option where we lost 2 points instead of gaining 1 dropped that 3 down to a 1. So we go to section 415. You know what, if I knew I was going to talk about recent politics that much, I should have probably been playing Darkest Dungeon, then I could rant in the Brexit estate. Keep it tongue-in-cheek and friendly, and we'd all know what's going on there. Bit of a joke, bit of fun. Probably some of the town councillors demanding that people in the hamlet give up their homes so that fishmen from the cove can come in and live there for free, and that all the beggars and old people should bugger off and go live in the cove or the weald and get killed by brigands and fishmen. Yeah, not nice. Right, you announce in Star Chamber that you have sufficient money in the treasury to meet the council costs as far as you see fit. And this section adds 1 popularity rating, taking us up to a 415, a 5, as opposed to the 2 we had gone back up to by following Greystaff's advice. Then we have Parsifal is not on the Privy Council. Foxglove warns us about him. We keep the Yellow Lotus in business. It's unpopular but doesn't cost us a point of popularity. We have been warned when we go to see Parsifal in the temple that he is not Parsifal, he is Mandrake. We even have the power of Shinren. Then we need to just roll 2 dice. Against defense 6, so we need a 7. We've got a +2 kick modifier, I believe. Yep. So we just need to roll like a 5+, right? We did this before. Yep. 7 + 2 is 9. And then, after defeating the assassin, we return to section 201, where we began this episode, where the people have placed even more faith in Force Lady Gwyneth than we have. We refuse to bow to mob hysteria and ordered her to stay back behind the city walls, which costs us a point of 2 points of popularity, back down to a 3. Which I shall continue from, because otherwise I'd just have to replay that whole section again. And while I'm mostly okay with that, I mean, we've been a while already just talking through it, right? Okay, where are we? Popularity rating 3. And I can now... The reason I went through all this stuff with the Temple of Time was to check what the popularity rating would be at this point for taking that taxation. So, we have exactly 6 funds in the treasury. We're at section 201, 99. And while the people are upset and we are very unpopular for a little bit, we still have plenty of popularity points and stay in existence for now. It's a juggling act we will need to be careful about. I hope some of you have appreciated my breakdown of the adventure getting to this far, of the whole popularity juggling puzzle. There are a few other options, and most of which involve taking Golspiel's heavy bribes. When the black tide crosses the river of beasts in view of the turrets of Irsmuncast, your army is not yet ready to begin a major campaign against the spawn of a rift, and so you order them to look to the defence of the walls. The fighting is bloody, but the Dark Elves are repulsed before the cave trolls, under cover of the huge siege machines covered up with damp hides, can undermine the foundations of the city wall. The attacking forces withdraw to regroup, but this is only the calm before the storm. 109 goes to 119. Looks like we're on 9s now for a bit. Fed up with being cooped up in the palace, out of touch with the common people, you decide to don the disguise of a journeyman and walk the streets. Fear hangs over everybody like a black pall. The city wall on the edge side has been all but breached, and men toil to repair the damage before the next onslaught. You are watching the labour when a small child walks up to you and greets you by name in a dreamy, faraway voice. Listen to your dreams, Avenger. The way will be shown. The message given, she shakes her head and the glazed look leaves her eyes. Seeing you, a complete stranger as she thinks, she shrieks and flees. You go to sleep that night, pondering over your strange meeting. The voice of Quan the Redeemer enters your dreams, bringing guidance at last. Since the glorious days of Telmain I, the rulers of Irsmuncast have wielded two powerful artifacts, the scepter and the orb. These were reft from your father and carried away to the mountains of undying solitude. Without these artifacts, Avenger, your rulership is doomed. Within these mountains lies the Valley of Scorpions, where the evil ninjas of the Way of the Scorpion live and train. You must there defeat their Grand Master of Shadows, for it is he who knows the whereabouts of the scepter and the orb. You awake next morning, firm in your resolve to seek the orb and the scepter. So. Yeah. $3.99. Ends in a 9, doesn't it? The subsequent proclamation is heard all over the city. Overlord, Avenger the First, is to bring back the luck of Irsmuncast, the orb, and the scepter of Telmain. The heroic nature of your quest to the mountains of undying solitude appeals to the people who seem to forget that you are deserting them in their darkest hour. It is not too late to change your mind. Will you do as bidden by your god, or stand beside your people in their hour of need? I mean, there's some nice stuff for staying behind, possibly, or it's just an auto-kill. I mean, is it just an auto-kill? It's just an auto-kill. Yep, so obviously we're going to follow the advice of our god. That was never in question. 409, another 9! The journey is long and hard. A raiding party of dark elves almost capture you as you slink through the rift pass, but you elude them. The lands you enter beyond the rift are wild but fertile. A great stretch of elms stretches on, seemingly forever. After many days in the deepening woods, you skirt the cities of Segesvar and Pest, covering league after league relentlessly until at last you near your goal. Turn to section number 10. Does not end with a 9. Guess what? It's a new map. Where are we? So, Irsmuncast. So, eastwards past the rift. Segesvar and Pest. Just checking if they're Land of the Fire Drakes. I think we spoke of that very recently. Pest, Segesvar, yes, we are going that way. So we literally just gone past that way, south of the mountains. Interesting. So we snuck that way, not this way. Okay. Might as well keep that open for a while. So I've seen a number of sections that seem to indicate dragon attacking the city. You know, ballistae shooting at winged flying beasts. So I'm going to presume that that all occurs when we return to the city. So this isn't go fight the ninjas of the Red Scorpion, beat them, end of book, next book, come back. This is go fight the ninjas of the Red Scorpion, learn where the Orb and the Scepter are, go get the Orb and the Scepter, bring them back to Irsmuncast, big showdown against the army from the Rift at the end. The mountains of undying solitude loom before you, dark and forbidding, like gnarled fingers clawing blindly at the dirty grey sky. A cold, biting wind that chills your bones strikes up as you move through the foothills. The black clouds, heavy and ponderous, empty themselves on the lifeless earth, and great sheets of freezing rain and sleet buffet you as you struggle upward. It is as if the mountains themselves are trying to sweep you off their sides, just as a man would remove an insect that troubled him. The land is all but barren, a hostile land tortured by the elements, where few plants or animals, let alone men, can survive. As you climb, you come to some sparse vegetation, shrubs and bushes, blowing violently in the keening wind, as if they struggled desperately against something that sought to tear them by the roots from the life-giving earth. A mountain goat huddles miserably under a small bush, looking at you dumbly as you pass by. Water runs off your body in rivulets, and it is not long before you are struggling upwards through a small rushing torrent as the rain cascades down the mountainside. Sounds almost like Caradras, but with rain instead of snow. It is only your rigorous training that enables you to withstand this punishing weather. You climb on, fatigue creeping up on you slowly. You climb on, fatigue creeping up on you slowly. Eventually you come to a halt. A great chasm opens up before you, as if some godlike titan had slashed the earth with his sword. Beyond it, and rising up into the sky, are the crags of abandoned hope, crooked jumbles of stone towering upward above the mountain like a crown. A thin stone bridge about 2 feet wide spans the chasm, of natural origin, not man-made. Up above you, the mountain leans over and joins the massive expanse of forbidding stone on the other side. A difficult climb, but you could reach the other side by climbing up and across, then onward to the crags. Will you cross the thin bridge, or, if you have the skill of climbing, go upwards and across? I do believe we basically needed the skill of climbing to get through the beginning of Book 2, and we do have it. Usually, having the skill for a situation is an advantage. It's not always an advantage, because climbing over the trolls in Book 3 was not ideal, because one of them just looked up unnoticed. In this case, I think climbing over the bridge may be somewhat wiser. There might be some kind of troll guarding the bridge. But is this one of those situations whereby if we bypass the encounter... Wait, this is section 10, neither of these end in a 0. I would be interested to see where they end in different digits, what the pattern is. Now, as I've said before, I don't really have many memories of this book beyond the political stuff at the beginning, and the fact that there would be an assassination attempt, and we had to keep the Yellow Lotus on side. I remember sailing or rowing a small boat down a river, and there being a left or right choice at a fork in the river, and the left-hand choice being a complete auto-kill, and that was the first instance of the Fighting Fantasy rule failing in this series. You could argue that it would fail near the beginning of Book 2, where you're faced with the left or right choice when swimming through the tunnels, but not really, because you have a good indication that the right-hand choice is the correct one. And the Fighting Fantasy rule is a default to fall back on if you have no suitable clues or evidence or information. We shall attempt climbing and hope we don't bypass a vital item that we need. You tie the cat's claws to your hands and feet and swing the grappling hook up high. It clatters against the stone, barely audible over the rushing wind, and anchors itself on an outcrop of rock. You haul your weather-beaten body upwards, crawling like a fly up the sheer rock face, hands and feet finding holes where no ordinary human could, just like Dracula at the beginning of the book, where he's climbing headfirst down the cliff from the castle. Just as you feel that your aching limbs will not serve your will any longer, you reach the top. Down below, the thin stone bridge spans the chasm like a tightrope. Below that, yawning blackness. A gnarled mass of stone arcs downwards on the other side. Beyond it, a mountain track leads upwards towards the crags of abandoned hope that reach skyward. Higher still, you notice a cave mouth near the track, but it is the creature emerging from the cave that holds your attention. A massive humanoid figure lumbers out, sniffing the air as if it had caught the scent of prey. Presumably, you. Its knotted limbs are heavy with muscle and hair. A single eye stares out from a misshapen head, topped by a wicked-looking horn. It is a horned cyclops. It descends the pathway to the chasm's bridge, looking intently across the bridge, obviously expecting to see something upon it. When it finds nothing, it looks about suspiciously but does not spot you. Will you descend and attack the creature from above, or climb down to the path behind it and head on up to the crags in an attempt to avoid it? We are not here to fight a monster. It might have a vital item that we need. We are here on a mission to do something behind this monster. We will climb down behind it and try to sneak past. It may sense us. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. If it notices anyway, we'd be better coming to attack from above. Ooh. But we are sneaky. We shall try. Let's hope it doesn't screw us over. Imagine if we just walked across the bridge, right? The climb down is not easy and takes some time. Could we wait for it to go back into its cave? But the Cyclops does not notice you. The wind frustrates even its obviously keen sense of smell. It remains at the chasm's edge, casting about for the victim its brain tells it should be there. You reach the pathway safely above the cave and head on upwards. It will now still be here on our return journey, however, so we'll need to be careful about that. And let's hope we haven't missed any extremely useful magic item. The path leads up towards the forbidding crags of abandoned hope. Lots of word names. Soon it becomes little more than a series of footholds which appear to be little used, or at least anything that has been this way was not left any tracks. At last the torrential rain ceases and the sun peeks out from behind the clouds. However, the fresh, bright light serves only to highlight the barren nature of these hills. After a time, the path widens into a small, flattish clearing, directly below the three gnarled crags. Then you freeze in shocked surprise. By its edge lies a seemingly innocent rock, but carved into it is a whirlpool symbol. The symbol of the god Nemesis, the god of the ninja of the Way of the Scorpion we were literally told to expect from here. Your senses straining, you search the surrounding rocks intently. A feeling that someone or something is watching you becomes overwhelming. Cold, hostile eyes are upon you. Will you ignore the feeling and climb up the crags? Right. Is that ignore the danger and get killed? Or is that don't let them know that you know they're watching and be prepared? Act as if you were about to be attacked and dive for the cover of a nearby outcrop of rock. Or, if you have a ring with a scorpion set in amber, will you hold up the ring and say, I am Ninja of the Way of the Scorpion, returning home from a mission given me by the Grand Master of Shadows? I don't believe I have any such a ring. We have the opal ring, which served us well in Book 2. The brass signet ring. I think the royal seal is the brass signet ring. This is a... Okay, it doesn't say what material that ring is made of. But we have no other rings. Or, hold up the ring and say, I am Ninja of the Scorpion of the Island of Plenty, with messages for the Grand Master of the Ninja of the Mountains of Undying Solitude. This ring is my token of faith. I have no such ring. I could perhaps have obtained such a ring from the encounter with the Cyclops. That would be the most sensible place where I could have gained such an item. Right. If we dive for cover, will someone behind the cover grab us and break our neck? Probably not. Will it alert everyone who's watching us to the fact that we know they're watching us? Yes. But we're practicing our ninja suit anyway, so dive for cover, I think. They may be too far away to affect us directly just yet. Without hesitating, you dive to the ground and roll towards the boulder. It is just as well you did, because a thin sliver of steel glinting in the sun whirs through the place where you were a moment ago. You recognize it as a shuriken, but not of a kind you are familiar with. As you come to your feet, a clipped shout fills the air, and a figure dressed as you leaps down from above. A 20-foot fall to land nimbly before you. Okay. As you come to your feet, a clipped shout fills the air, and a figure dressed as you leaps down from above, a 20-foot fall to land nimbly before you. As the ninja, for that is what he is, hits the ground, he reaches behind his back and draws the short sword or ninja toe that lies there. You are not of the Scorpion, he whispers. Prepare to die. And he somersaults forwards to come up slashing at your legs. Nimbly, you leap over the flashing blade and launch an attack of your own. Will you try to slide under his guard and execute a dragon's tail throw? He has a sword, and it's a move he will be ready for. Try the winged horse kick. Or try to close in and drive a cobra strike up to his throat. Closing in through the reach of his sword feels like, the kick, he could slash at our leg. Let's try get close. Would be nice to throw him, but if this is not a normal fight, and this is an option combat choreography fight, it's a normal fight. Okay. Your enemy aims a vicious swipe at your head, but you anticipate the move and step inwards, taking his blade on your left arm with a clang. You twist in at him and jab upwards at his throat. If you have the skill of Yubijutsu, you may add 1 to all your damage rolls. I do not. The Ninja Sentinel has a defense against the Cobra Strike punch of 8. We're probably going to miss then. Our punch modifier is only +1. We have failed. If he still lives, he tries to gut you. Your defense is 7 as you twist to avoid the wicked thrust. Well, we don't want to suffer a wicked thrust. So, 9, he hits us. He has a really high defense. We're on full endurance. Do we take this or try a block? He needs to roll an 8 to hit us. On the reroll, he'll only need to roll a 7. And it'll give us a -2 to hit. I think we take the damage. Clear. Three points of damage. We take 3 points of damage. We can absolutely take 3 points of damage. If you still live, would you try the Dragon's Tail throw, a winged horse kick, or attempt another... The Cobra Strike is not ideal. Try to relieve your opponent of his sword. That sounds like something we should absolutely try to do. Won't necessarily be easy, but I'm willing to give it a try. The battle rages on, each of you seeking a weakness in the other's defense. You lure your opponent into thrusting his sword at your belly and you sidestep the blade, trying to clamp it to your side with your arm. A maneuver requiring perfect precision and coordination. Oh shit. Treat this as if you were making an attack, but you do not have any plus or minus modifiers. Your enemy's defense is 6, so 7 plus, straight roll. Okay. Fuck. I think we're dead. Or at least seriously injured. As fast as you are, the Scorpion Ninja divines your purpose and he twists the blade so that the cutting edge forces into your side. Desperately, you abort your maneuver and the ninja whips his sword back, trying to slice open your ribcage as he does so. Your defense is 6. Well, shit, here we go. Yeah, watch it roll really high now and absolutely... Oh no! We're okay. Does not absolutely murder me. I think we'll have to try another attack before we can try this again. Let's try the throw. Because throw then kick and throw then punch was the old pattern that worked quite well. Let's see if he's really prepared for this. He probably is. He's a ninja. He lunges at your neck, but you have already hit the floor. Your feet slide at his. It is... If this is the second time you have tried to throw him, his defense would be 8, not 7. His defense against the Dragon's Tail throw is 7! And we're not going to be trying again. Our throw modifier, I believe, is just +1. Yes. Okay. And that fails completely. If you succeed, you hook your legs around his and twist your body, tripping him. As agile as a cat, you flip onto your feet just as your opponent rises. Unfortunately, that is not the case. So a successful throw in this case denies him his counter-attack. You may add 1 to your attack roll as he is slightly off balance. If you fail to throw him, he hops backwards and then cuts down at your head as you leap up. Your defense is 7, and let us pray. Fuck's... Map tools dice hate me tonight. Okay, we're going to go for a block. He hits, so we shouldn't have bothered. Okay. Two damage. We can live with 2 damage. It would be nicer not to have to. He's not even their leader. We could just have to kick him then. And pray that works. You twist and drive your foot up at your opponent's head. He reacts instantly, trying to cut at your leg as it flies up at him. I suspected he would. Oh, and his counterattack is automatic if we miss. That's all we need. Our kick modifier is +2. You've got to be taking fucking piss. If you miss him, he jumps back and cuts at your... This is why I wish I could use rolls. Right? Because map tools dice fucking hate me. He jumps back and cuts at your extended legs, slicing open your calf. He gives a short cry of triumph. Lose 4 endurance. Well, fuck that. Okay. Gonna have to just try again. The annoying thing is, we're gonna have to start using inner force on attacks with a good chance of missing. So we kick again. Wait, no. Wait, hang on. If we punch... he can miss the counterattack. We can try to... we'd need a 7+ to disarm him. So we need a 7 to get a 9 to kick. And for the punch, 76. I'm just going to check it. Also defense 8. So we need an 8 for the punch to land on a 9. But he can miss. So we go for the punch. Finally, it is a normal punch. 3 points. Knocks him down to, I believe, 10. 10. Then he thrusted us. Our defense is 7. He misses. We go back in for the punch. Miss. He misses. Just. I think we keep punching. Or not, as the case may be. And he lands a counter. We'll take the block. He definitely lands the counter. Unfortunately for us. I wonder, if we do relieve him with his sword, can we just kill him automatically? You know, with it, or because he's not able to use it anymore. 6 damage, that hurts a lot. Knocks us down to 5 or... yeah, 5. Basically, at this point, we just have to inner force every attack. So, punching with inner force. Misses. He hits. We block. He still hits. We fucking die because Map Tools hates us. 2 points. We're still in the fight with 3 endurance points left. We inner force again. Down to 4. To 3. We don't hit because fuck me. He hits. We block. He hits. We die. Whatever he rolls. So, yeah. Map Tools dice absolutely hate me. I want to do this fight again next time with probably just real dice, actually. It'd be a lot quicker for starters. It's annoying that I can't get back into rolls. I might have to look for some kind of other, you know, not biased, not rolling heavily loaded. So the problem with Map Tools dice is Map Tools dice are sticky. They tend to get stuck on a number. And it doesn't show the breakdown of the individual dice rolls. It just shows dice total plus modifier, right? But you can almost bet that on those 2d6 rolls, it starts rolling the same... you know, one of the dice gets stuck on the same number for like 3 or 4 rolls in a row. So Map Tools dice aren't as random as they should be. And you can essentially kind of jiggle it by doing a D1000, then a D20. Or a D20, then a D1000, because either of those should reset the random number generator so that if it's been rolling, like if you're rolling a D20, it's been like 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, 17, 17, 18, you know, it's like it can get stuck on a number. If that should like reset the random number generator. And with 2d6, it's not easy to tell, honestly. But still, it feels a bit unfair. Oh well, we got through a whole episode without an illustration, so that's going to be fun for the thumbnail. Reckon I'll just have to use the Cyclops. Okay, well, thank you all for watching. That was a harrowing experience. And, yeah, look, so what, 286, 276 for sneaking past for Cyclops? Or, no, 415 for not getting killed by evil... No, that's not... Oh, I'll find my place. I will. 270... No. I don't know. I'll just have to find it. That's annoying. Lost my section. Oh, well. Just when this playthrough couldn't get any worse. It had to. Okay. Well, thank you all for watching, and see you all next time. Bye for now, everyone, and hopefully my luck will take a bit of a turnaround soon. See ya.